There we go. Well, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show, where we dive into stories, tools, and strategies to unlock the extraordinary within you. I'm your host, Karen Rudolph, and I'm here to support you in stepping into your bold, sassy confidence, your classy wisdom, and your badassy boldness. This show is a gateway to creating ripples of transformation in your life, in your work, and in your world. So let's start awakening your potential and spark that magic within. I'm so excited today as we welcome our latest guest, Gordon White. He's a passionate master photographer, a writer, a solver, excuse me. And he has been working for Alexa as well. So many of you might or might not know what that is, but we're going to invite him to have a conversation with us today. So, Gordon, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show.
Well, thank you for having me, Karen. I really appreciate the opportunity to appear on your show.
Oh, it's fabulous to have you here. I was so intrigued with all of the many hats that you wear when I first met you. And I thought, wow, like talk about awakening potential. Like, what is your big, I'm going to assert that photography is your big thing, but you tell us what your big thing is out of all of that and how, if you would, how it came to be.
Well, my photography is my passion. Excuse me. Sorry, my dad passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But my dad worked for General Airlines Film Company. I'll calm down a minute.
It's okay.
Um, Dad worked for General Airline Film Company, and when I was young, in the late '60s, he gave me for Christmas a GAF instrumented camera. Yes, 70 years. Sorry,
Oh, thank you.
but I will show everybody this. That's where it all started.
Oh, I remember those days. I remember the flash, if I recall, the flash would go round and round and round, right?
Oh yeah, it was a classic 126 camera. Like I said, I'll calm down. It's just the emotional aspect of my dad passing.
But you know what? That's part of being human.
Yeah,
And, I've been known to cry on shows forever. But you know what? That's a way of emoting things too. So this is like real and raw. And I appreciate the fact that you had such an amazing relationship. And look at what it's inspired today. So,
I have the feeling the day he gave me that camera, he didn't think it would come to this. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's come a long ways. I went in the military, in the Army, and was there for 6 years, and the purpose was to get me into college. And when I got into college, I was studying IT and found out that I had a real knack for writing and photography and started working for the school newspaper. And when I left college, all of my offers came from the journalism side. So I traveled the country for the first 2 years, just shooting photos and writing for magazines.
wow, how cool is that?
Very, very enjoyable life start. As a matter of fact, I keep all of my cameras through the years. The only one I don't have is one of my cameras that I won the Audubon Society photo contest with, and that was the money that got me into DSLRs. But I am going to show you one more camera. This is one
Yeah.
of the cameras I actually used to shoot in the magazine days. And believe it or
Wow.
not, it still shoots. It still works.
I love it. So do you develop your own film?
I did back then. I can't now because I live in a condo, so the chemicals I'm not allowed to have here. But
Yeah.
I do shoot the cameras. Believe it or not, I took the two cameras when I went to Havana, Cuba with me. Figured they'd be the perfect thing to shoot Havana with.
Oh, how amazing. I remember getting one of my first camera. I actually still have my grandfather's camera. And I think it's an old, had I known we were going to be talking cameras, I would have like brought it over for the show and tell. I love that kind of thing. But it's one of the old fold ups. And then you would fold
Mm-hmm.
it down in the little, I cherish that. I cherish that because those to me, like, we have our smartphones now and everybody takes pictures with. I miss, and I used to do black and white photography back in the day. I thought it was cooler than anything else. And I used to develop it. And I gave my camera to my nephew when when he had his first kids, because I was like, there's no way with three kids. I had three children, and I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, hold that pose. And now it's just like, and I really felt sorry that I let it go, because I don't know about you, but I am fascinated as a creative problem solver. I am fascinated with the intricacies of the macro, the little, yeah, the micro. Yeah, and so I take pictures every day in nature, and I go out with my smartphone. I don't have a camera anymore to do it with, but I take like the intricate and then I blow it up, and I'm just like fascinated at seeing patterns. Like what is your funnest, what is your most like rewarding kind of photography?
I have to tell you, I enjoy, a friend of mine got me into portrait photography. This was after I started my career in IT. And I have to tell you, working with people by far has been the most fun. I don't do weddings. Most of my work is with businesses, and I do band work, stuff like that. But almost all of it's portrait. The stuff that isn't portrait is stuff that I do for fun, unless I'm shooting an event.
Nice, nice. That's so cool. So are you still writing or just the photography now, or?
I write. I've actually been published in every major coin and stamp magazine in the country.
Wow,
I've had photos on the cover of almost every single coin and stamp magazine in the country. Today, I write. I still write. As you said, I write for Alexa. Alexa is probably the only AI that's doing things legally instead of stealing things off the web. Amazon has people that write the questions that everybody asks. They come from somewhere, and I'm one of the ones they come from.
cool. Cool is that? Like, how'd you get into something like that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, and our listeners, but I mean, I use Alexa probably every day without thought. It just is like asking a question.
Well, a lot of people do that. They don't think about the answers come from somewhere. And I got into it. Amazon actually had contacted me by email and wanted to bring me in as a writer for Alexa. And I thought about, that might be kind of neat. Let's see how it goes. And then the first time you hear what you wrote for Alexa come through Alexa, I have to tell you, it just makes you smile. Ah! It's like seeing your picture on a billboard for the first,
Right.
picture that you shot on a billboard for the first time, you know?
How
So it's
cool.
it's it's interesting. You write on all different topics, but you sometimes you have to research, but what you know is better. And what you can put into it emotionally is much better. You want them to enjoy the answer to the question.
How cool is that? That's got to be, excuse me, so rewarding.
It's
Wow.
it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. I have a lot of my friends. When I first started doing, my friends are going, "No way, no way." I said, "Ask this question," and they'd ask it the question, and sure enough, she would rattle that question off. Like, I wrote that one. I wrote that answer. So for me, it was just a great opportunity to come along. And it was just an offset. And the funny part is, it's just an offset what I did previously, and everything that led up to it. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my college professor, Mr. Ty, who was my freshman Comp 1 teacher in college. And he made me come in and sit down and write a paper in front of him and two other professors because he didn't believe I wrote my term paper.
Oh gosh.
And when I got done and they saw me write, they read it, they gave me an A on it. And he said, called me into his office, and just so you know, you now have a guaranteed A in the class. And he goes, and you also need to know I'm the editor for the newspaper, and you're now coming to work for us.
Right.
And then that's what led into everything. It had to have been for that one moment, everything that's happened to me so far probably wouldn't have happened.
How cool. Well, it sounds like you've had the most exciting life. Um, what else, like what do you do for fun? Or is photography part of that? Or like, are you like what
I
is
do a lot of stuff for fun. I mean, I am ex-military, so I do competition shooting.
that's right, that's
That's one of my many asides. The photography is really actually one of my funnest things I get to do. I was in a really bad car accident in 2020. Prior to that, I was a water skier, taught wakeboarders, etc. But with the damage from the car crash, I can't pull up on the ropes anymore. So it kind of put an end to that.
Right.
So today, now I just the photography and getting out and practicing for competitions, going to competitions, and just and work. Because I do have a business that I run. So
Right. Well, I'm so grateful you took the time today to squeeze us in to do this because I just found when we had met, I just found the conversation fascinating, your background fascinating, and you have such a multitude of like things that really inspire you. And I find people like that to be most intriguing. And creating a business out of what we're passionate about, right? I mean, I'm passionate about what I do, you're passionate about what you do, and it just really inspires me to want to inspire others. So what is the one thing that you might say awakens your potential?
well, when I got out of college, college was one of the biggest things. But I've always had a artistic tendency. And when I started doing the shooting the cameras, the artistic tendency really kicked in, and that's when I discovered just how I really was inside. My mom always said, "Oh, I don't like your artistic side," because I was flighty. I'm not going to paint any pretty pictures. I make jokes and call it ADHD photography. I'll see shiny baubles and I'll just disappear for a while, and everybody's, "Where did Gordon go?" But I mean, all of that, the artistry, a lot of people think photography is pointing a camera and snapping the button.
Right.
There's a lot more to it than that. There really is. There is an artistry to it. You are painting with light,
Mm,
whereas a regular painter paints with paintbrushes and watercolors and oil paints and pen and ink and pencil, etc. We are painting with light, and how we deliver that light will make or break my photo.
wow, that's
And a lot of the lighting that I've learned, and when people go onto my website, onto my page, and start seeing some of the work, they'll understand what I mean by painting by light.
cool.
But the painting by light is how I cast shadows, how I cast light. Everything is a factor into making the picture. Then you have the posing of your subject that you're working with. How do you pose the subject? Is the lighting complementary to the subject, or is it not? The lenses that I use are very good lenses. They can bring out every single detail, which can be challenging, especially if you're shooting somebody who's sensitive about certain aspects of their look.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. So just as a you mentioned your website and your contact, why don't you let the audience know, because if they want to see what an example of that lighting artistry looks like, where would they go to find that?
They would find my page on Facebook, GW Photography. It'll be a picture with me standing in front of a plane over in place Titusville shot. I decided I wanted to have a. You ever heard of Breitling? The
Oh,
watch.
yes.
Okay. I wanted to give you Breitling's always the aviator's watch. Their
Right.
commercials were always the aviators. You know that, don't you? They started out as an aviator, and I wanted to do a Breitling style watch.
Uh-huh.
And the photo of me in front of the plane was my Breitling style shot. I had an assistant shoot the photo for me in Titusville, and they closed up the hangar for me so I could do the photo.
Oh, cool.
No, it really is. You want, as a photographer, your artistic artism is in creating the image you most want to create. Can you create that image? Can you control the lighting? Can you control the subject? Does the subject work well? And it all comes together in an art, work of art.
Love it. So somebody who's never really done it before, who wants to get into it, what would be like your words of wisdom that you would share with somebody who's really like, wow, how do I do this? And I want to awaken my potential to become a photographer or, try my hand at it. What would be your words of wisdom?
I get that question a lot, believe it or not, Karen.
Thank
The
you.
thing about photography is I always tell people study. It's the same thing with anything. I mean, you wouldn't be where you are, obviously, if you didn't work in certain areas to improve your knowledge of that area. It's the same thing in photography. If
Right,
an individual gets stuck, you know, they're just shooting auto mode on the camera. All they're getting out of that camera is an engineer's vision of what the perfect photo should look like. The
right,
problem is, it's not the individual behind the camera's vision. So once they go to manual, the vast majority of my shots are shot all manual, right even down to manual focus, even though my cameras are all autofocus. But I
right,
go manual because I want to control every aspect of the photo. But it takes a lot of time and study to get to the point where you can do that on the fly.
absolutely. Like I remember taking all those courses back in the day, and I was like really getting into all the today, if I picked up a camera, I wouldn't remember any of it, which is sad to say because I loved it. And once I gave it away, it was like, oh, what was I thinking? Uh, you know, it's like anything, right? You don't use it, you're gonna lose it, kind of thing. So obviously you use it often to keep that muscle going, like anything in life, right?
Well, the good side is when they go to my, you know, my page that I have on Facebook, the best most of my photos obviously are paid for. I can't even post them on websites or anything like that. A lot of my really good stuff that I do. But that being said, I do post what I can on Facebook, and on there they will find that I actually write on Facebook periodic how I took shots, how I did this, how I did that. The most
Okay.
recent one I just did was blurring shooting speed motion. You know, whether you want to blur the subject, show the speed, or stop the subject and not show the speed.
Nice. It's interesting because as a creative problem solver, immediately my mind went to, oh, you can monetize that. You could like, you could start
True.
creating an online course for people, right? And
Yeah.
so, when you wake into printing, you never know where it's going to go, right? Or you could just do what you're doing and sharing, and who knows what you're doing in the on other aspects of your life. That there's always potential within something we're passionate about. I'm a firm believer in that.
Oh, it is very true. And, you know, my camera has got me into places, honestly, that most people, I mean, would never be able to get. At the age of 27 years old, I had dinner with the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States under Bill Clinton and the Director of the United States Mint to receive an award. 27. I wouldn't have got there if it hadn't been for the camera.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? So what's the funniest thing you've done or that you've had a shoot with your camera? Like now I'm curious. Like, my little kid is going, oh, tell me all the what's the worst, what's the best? Kind of.
I've done shots for so many different people, but the funny part is one of the funniest ones I did, I was on a business shoot for a client, and
Right.
it's actually on my Facebook page. Um, I had one of the gals in my studio. It's a portable studio. I go on site to businesses to shoot. I do doctor's office, bank, et cetera, for their internal photos, real estate. And one of the gals was sitting in the chair, and I was setting some stuff up in the studio. Now, all of my cameras operate remotely. So I can be standing anywhere in the studio I want to be and trigger the camera.
Wow.
Well, one of the gals decides she's going to fake a photo bomb and come stick her head in the photo. She popped her head in the photo, and I just went click. And they both saw the studio lights flash and heard the lamp camera go click. They're like, no, no, you did not just get that. And you can see that on my Facebook page. It was the look on the girl's face who was having her photo taken was absolutely classic. When I saw the photo, I literally laughed for 10 minutes because the look on her face, they had no idea it was coming.
Beautiful. I love it. And I don't know about you, but I mean, sometimes it's really nice to be like, okay, this is a portrait, but I love like this show is raw and real, right? What you see is what you get. I don't like chop it up. In photography, obviously, there are times where you need to touch up, right? And you want to touch up, especially I'm asserting if somebody hires you, there's a certain professionalism that goes along with that. I'd like to think I'm professional here, but I just love that raw, real feel. The what is it for you? Like, what does it take behind the scenes? Once you take the photos and you bring them home, now I'm asserting you edited them. Like, how long does it take to edit? And like, what is involved with all of that?
Well, here is the beauty of it, and this is one of the things I teach students when I do teach. Um, if you get it right in the camera, your time at home is a lot less. Now, the world of film, one of the things I used to do is I used to shoot plates for auction houses. I would come in with the camera equipment. They would
Right.
assign me the film, okay, send me in. I'd come out, I'd sign the film back out to them, hand them the film. I never get to see them. And then I leave, get to have fun, and then fly back home. I had to shoot them perfect every single time. I could not make a mistake. And I'm shooting on 35 millimeter film, if you
Well,
can imagine that. So you get it right in the camera because otherwise you're unemployed.
yeah.
And with that background behind me, I have two programs, obviously Photoshop. I use another program called Portrait Professional, and it's basically the airbrush. I try not to do too much unless the individual wants it. In the case of the bands, generally I'll run them straight through and then they'll send them off to their graphics people. The average people, I'll do very, very minor touch up most of the time if I need to. But like I said, the lenses that I do use are really, really good and they will pick up every detail. I mean, if you have a thread on your nose, it actually shows up in the camera. So I will remove stuff like that.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah,
That's
I've actually captured where somebody put lipstick on and got it on her teeth and specs, and it
yeah, yeah,
showed
yeah.
up in the camera.
Wow.
So
Ah,
it gives you an idea how detailed the lenses are. Really good lenses are going to be that detailed. So you, as a photographer, you really have to watch carefully when you're processing those photos.
right.
I do it on a 55-inch monitor.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Gordon, this has been amazing. I'm so getting into this, but you're inspiring me to want to get back into photography. So,
Do it, do it. It's like, look, even if you do it for fun, it's a
if I
blast.
do it, I'm going to be Gordon. What am I doing it right? Blah, blah, blah.
It might not want to be the one you ask initially up front because you say, I can't do that. I can't do that. But once you get into it, you relax. And I've had people say to me how the funniest band incident that ever happened to me is I had to do a studio shoot for a band public at a CD unveiling. So I had everything set up. I had it all roped off. Security was there and everything else. And at the end of that, the photo shoot went magnificently. The photos were fantastic. They wound up on billboards all over Orlando.
Well,
Um, but I'm sitting at a table with a friend of mine who was driving the tour bus, and he had driven for Van Halen. And him and I were having a conversation about just talking about music and who he's driven through, who I worked with, et cetera, et cetera. And this one young lady who's an intern comes walking up. She was doing some merchandising band. And she goes, I can't believe you guys are so calm. I mean, you guys realize who this is. And we both looked at each other. I said, I don't know about you, but he puts his pants on one leg at a time like I do. And it's so how you have to look at it because they get ambulance. You're to say, I didn't mean that. Autograph chasers all the time. And they don't want their photographer chasing autographs and selfies. So I don't, unless somebody says, hey, let's do a selfie, I will never do a selfie with them. I will never ask. It's not my business. I have a friend of mine who's also the pilot for Van Halen. It was the same thing with him. Don't ask, don't tell. That's just how it is. And the photos, when that's the case, are generally purchased, paid outright. So they're paying me to be there, paying to have all the photos, all the exclusive rights. So I just have to hand them over, just like I did for the auction houses.
yeah, beautiful. I've also seen some of your photography, which is like motion, which has just been absolutely amazing. And how you capture it, it just looks like it keeps going in a sense, which is very unique. So well done.
Motion is tough. Motion is in a still camera. Shooting motion in video is easy.
Right.
You hold the camera and you follow it.
Right.
When you're shooting on a still, you have to plan every aspect of your shot.
Right.
And if you go to my Facebook page, which, like I said, everybody will have a link to that. When you go to my Facebook page, one of the scenes you're going to see is where I was shooting a jet ski race. And the jet ski is moving at a ridiculous speed. It had to be moving 70 miles an hour.
Right.
And when I shot the photo, the boat's bouncing up and down, the water is just spraying off of the guy. And I had to plan because I wanted to draw the rider and the boat in perfect stop motion. Everything else I wanted blurred. You
Yeah.
really, really, really have to plan for that. And it takes a lot of practice.
But that's amazing because that's actually is the photo I saw on your Facebook page, and I was like, dang, man. And it comes across to the viewer as it was like effortless, but as a professional, I guess it gets effortless with practice and just knowing what you've learned throughout the years. So
It
um
is. It's practice, a lot of practice.
yeah. So what would you like to leave the listening audience with as we come to a close?
Honestly, Karen, I would say follow your dreams. Even if it sounds like, oh, this is not going to turn into anything. My mom hated my artistic side growing up. Now she's learned to deal with it. She sees me running around all over the place, zipping all around this band, that band, having to go into Disney to do work and Dr. Phillips Center and everything else. And now she's more accepting of it. She's more of a control person, whereas I do whatever I want to do. The typical artist.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I said absolutely. I could relate to that. The
Yeah,
artist.
yeah. So follow your dreams no matter what. No matter what people tell you, no matter how hard it may seem. And even when you get to a point where it seems like it's not going to work, and for me, I have to tell you, that was the pandemic. Um, it literally put me out of the one thing I loved the most for a long period of time. And I'm trying to rebuild that now. But just follow your beliefs and your dreams because they will get you to where you want to go if you really believe they will.
Absolutely. I love that. Gordon, thank you so much for taking the time and energy today to come and join us and be a part of it and share your wisdom and your passion with us. It's just been such a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure to be on, Karen. Thank you so much for having me.
Uh, and for those that would love to get in touch with Gordon, we're going to put all of his contact information within the show notes for you. And again, thank you for joining the Awakening Potential show. For all of our listening audience, it's been a pleasure having you here. And as we step back into your world, as you step back into your world, remember the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary is built with small steps of change and big leaps of faith. So don't forget to subscribe and share the show with others and keep enjoying being inspired and lifted. Leave your questions, answers. I'm here. I'm the one that answers it. You'll get me. And let's together see what insights from Gordon White had to offer today that will inspire you as a guiding light as you navigate your own journey. Remember, you were born to be different, so make the difference and let your light shine. Until next time, continue to awaken your potential and illuminate the extraordinary within. Stay inspired.